This critical EDH video is brought to you by Doot Loot, your one-stop shop for Japanese and Russian foils. If you spend $100 or more, you'll earn free entry into the largest online cEDH league this month. So don't miss out and upgrade your deck's bling today.
Hey everyone, wanted to keep going with our fundamentals series in cEDH. This time I wanted to talk about Glarb and some misunderstood concepts and I guess just how things work with the deck. I think Glarb is really powerful in the right scenarios, but he can be hard to use sometimes, and right now with the meta it's kind of debatable whether he's good or not, but I do have the list together still, and I want to talk about some interesting interactions with cards and concepts and stuff like that. So let's get started. Alright, so we've got Glarb. I have shuffled this. I haven't looked at what the top card is or anything. And then we've got this opening 7. So we've got Exploration, Elves, Polluted Delta, Tropical Island, Underground Sea, Mental Misstep, and Noxious Revival. We are going to have to mulligan to 5 on this hand. So really we're looking for ways to get like turn 2 Glarb and progress our game state. So I think we're going to put on the bottom, let's do Underground Sea, Mental Misstep, and we'll talk about some options that we have with this, but I want to show you how these things play out, and we'll use the commander's strengths to try to get ourselves back into the game. So we put these two on the bottom. I think we'll probably end up fetching for that Underground Sea anyway. Alright, so we've got these 5 cards. We'll untap, draw for turn. Okay, we got a fetch land, that's pretty good. We'll do Tropical Island, tap Tropical Island for an exploration. We'll play our second land for turn. We'll do a Wooded Foothills, and we'll crack the Wooded Foothills. Taking 1, we'll get a Bayou. We do need green for the Elves of Deep Shadow, so Bayou will suffice. I'll shuffle that in a second. And we'll play our Elves. So that's establishing we have 3 mana minimum for turn 2 Glarb. And right now our objective is to grind out the game and establish mana so that we can get off the ground. So untap, we will draw for turn. High Fate Trickster, not very good. We'll tap here, tap Elves, and play Glarb. So we didn't play our land for turn yet because there's really no incentive for us to. We have very low amount of cards in hand. Lands are valuable, but we want to quickly get to spells that do things in our deck. Glarb lets us look at the top card of our library at any time, and if it's a land we can play it. So this is a mana vault. That's not very good. I'm going to play a Polluted Delta. I'm going to fetch. Let's find that Underground Sea. There's Underground Sea. Okay, so now we have a chance to cycle the top of our library because we're shuffling in hopes of getting another land. So let's look. Top card is Massacre. Now that's pretty good. We could cast Massacre if the opportunity is there. If there's a Sentinel and there's a Plains, it's probably a good idea. This Elves isn't really mattering to us for, that much. So let's say we're able to cast this Massacre. Glarb's a 0-2 for what it's worth. Is this a land? Oh, it is a land. So let's play our Scalding Tarn. Now we've played our second land for a turn with Exploration. We have a Notion Thief on top. That's interesting. So depending on the situation, you could keep the Notion Thief on top, just pass, because we can surveil it away later if we need to. We can fetch, we can do lots of different things. So right now, I think we're in a okay spot, because what we can do as well next turn, we can Noxious Revival this Massacre to the top of our library and cast it again if people have creatures that they've played. With very limited resources, we've just established and we have a game plan. Oh, sorry, our Elves is dead from the Massacre. But we've established a game plan and sort of like a stable board state for us. But although for our opponents, it really doesn't look like we have anything. Let's end our end of turn 2. Let's just say we left this here just in case. Let's untap, and then in our upkeep, let's surveil. So we'll take a look at these 2 cards. Clever Impersonator and Notion Thief. That's interesting. So Impersonator would like let us copy a Ristic or a Smothering Tithe, anything that really is value, even of Sentinel or something like that. So I don't think a Notion Thief at this point is really going to do us a whole lot. Let's bin that. We'll put this back on top. We'll draw this for turn. Now, we can Noxious Revival land, and we can Scalding Tarn fetch. This Scalding Tarn is going to help us cycle the top of our library, so we're kind of waiting to do anything with it. Let's take a look. We have a Pact. Unfortunately, we don't really have a way to draw the Pact, but there's really, at this point in the game, I don't think there's really anything we need the Pact for. So let's fetch with our Scalding Tarn and try to get a land on top of our library here. Okay, here's a breeding pool. We'll take a look at the Valley Floodcaller. Not helpful. So we still haven't played a land yet for turn. Let's Noxious Revival this Polluted Delta on top. So let's play this Polluted Delta, and we can crack it. We'll find this Overgrown Tomb. Again, we'll look at the top. Ristic Study. That's pretty good. So we'll leave the Ristic Study there. We'll cast this, and we'll have it be an opponent's Ristic Study. You can see how with these cards available to us, we've established a pretty solid game plan, and then we're going to untap and draw a Ristic Study for our next turn. While this is a slow plan, we were on a low mulligan, but we were able to dig ourselves out. We have good stable mana here that can't be really interacted with, and we're also trying to get good cards out of our library by manipulating the top. Okay, so I wanted to go over some of how Necropotence interacts with Glarb. I think it's a really powerful card, but for different reasons, what you might not be used to compared to like Turbo Rogsai or Blue Farm. Imagine this scenario. We've gone down to a mulligan of 4. We've kept a Bayou, Dark Writ, Trop Island, and Vamp Tutor. And so we will start out with playing a Bayou, and then on end step we'll cast a Vamp Tutor. We'll find this Necro and put that on top of our library. Turn 2, we'll untap, draw a Necro, play a Tropical Island, cast this Dark Ritual, cast Necro. And we have no cards in hand. We need to refill to 7, so we'll Necro for 7. That'll bring us to 33. Our Necro pile is Command Tower, Wooded Foothills, Exploration, Delighted Halfling, Worldly Tutor, Arcane Signet, Soul Ring. It's pretty good. Turn 3, we'll untap. We don't draw for turn, but really our goal right now is to play Glarb. So let's see how we can do that. So what I think we'll do is we can play a land, play this Command Tower, play this Soul Ring as I drop my cards, play this Arcane Signet from Soul Ring. So we've essentially gone sort of in a linear path. We still have 3 mana here. We'll go Exploration from Arcane Signet. We'll play our Wooded Foothills, and then we'll crack our Wooded Foothills. We'll grab a Breeding Pool, and now we need to play Glarb. So we'll tap these 3, and we'll play Glarb. Glarb lets us look at our cards on top of our library before we Necro them. In this case, it doesn't matter as much because we're just refilling our hand, but we've got Worldly Tutor and Delighted Halfling in our hand. So let's take a look. It's Beseech. That's pretty good. We'll put that in our Necro pile. Beseiju, 2 Elves, Oppo, Veil. This is 5 cards. What's on top? Spirit Guide. Let's do Spirit Guide because then we can have Veil. Mox Diamond. Yep. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're down to 23 with High Fae. I find that High Fae is not really that good, so let's leave High Fae on top. We'll go down to 23, we'll put these in our hand. We'll pitch this Mox Diamond and the Lighted Halfling. So dorks don't really do a whole lot for us anymore. We've got 7 in hand. The Spirit Guide is going to let us either Veil or Besage, which is pretty strong. We can also use the Spirit Guide to Worldly Tutor a creature to the top. So we have quite a few options. Now it's just our turn 3, and you can see from a very low mulligan we've already recovered pretty strongly. And then these are in exile. So let's untap once more, and we can just see where this leads us. We'll tap Glarb to Surveil. Clever Impersonator and High Fae. I think High Fae is not going to do a whole lot for us, but Clever Impersonator would probably get us like a Rhystic Study or a Smothering Tide, something like that, so that's pretty good. We'll put High Fae directly into the graveyard, leave this on top, and then we'll cast Clever from the top. Let's use Soul Ring, Breeding Pool, and Trop, and kind of optimize our mana here so we have some colors open. Then we can take a look at the top. It's Mox Amber, not that good. And now it's really important for us to hit our land drops. So while we have spells in our hand that we can cast, nothing we can really cast off the top, at least very easily. I suppose we could cast a Metamorph if we use a Spirit Guide and a Worldly Tutor, put Metamorph on top. We can pay 3 plus 2 life, cast it, but that would be just dependent on what's on the field. So Opposition Agent is also really good to hold up. We can hold that up with this mana. We really do need to hit our land drops, so we'll use Necropotence to allow us to do that. This is, we'll just say it's a copy of Rhystic Study or something similar. Mox Amber, we're going to Necro that. Swan Song. Or Borg. So we're not necroing this, but we are going to put it into play, and that's an exploration. We've got one more. Scheming. Scheming plus Oppo is really, really strong. This is one of our main win cons in the deck, so if we're able to flash out an Oppo on our turn, we can just use a Scheming Symmetry to steal someone's Thassa, steal someone's Chain Impact. Deathrite. Born. Eldritch. Misstep. Nature's Rhythm. Don't think there's a reason for us to do that. Birds. Emrakul. Otawara. Okay, we'll play our Otawara as our second land. We'll see what's on top. It's a Mana Vault. Move to end step. We are pretty low on life, but we're pretty much winning next turn. We'll put these cards into hand from Necro. We'll discard the stuff that doesn't really matter, which is like definitely birds, Deathrite, elves. We probably don't need Amber, Emrakul. So once I do the first pass of like what to discard for sure, then I'm like, okay, what do I definitely need to keep? It's Misstep, Scheming, Swan Song, Oppo, Spirit Guide, Sage-U, Veil. Then I evaluate these remaining 5 and go, okay, yeah, these are powerful, but these get me creatures. That doesn't really, I mean, this gets us a Thassa, and Beseech does as well. We would keep Besage-U conditionally just based on whether our opponents have the ability to breach or they have a tithe or anything that we need to get rid of. So this is kind of a flex card. Spirit Guide's actually more of a flex now because we have tons of mana. So let's see if we can keep like Beseech, Besage-U, Oppo, and all this. It looks like Born is probably not that great, so I think we're okay with this. Just double checking, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana open, which means that we'd need to keep Spirit Guide if we want to do Oppo, Born, and Scheming, but that's kind of far-fetched. So I think this is probably good. We'll get rid of Spirit Guide, Born, Worldly Tutor, Eldritch, and Nature's Rhythm. Those go to discard. And so our hand is Beseech, Veil, Beseju, Oppo, Swansong, Scheming, Misstep. And our goal with Necro, yes, we're digging deep sometimes, but we're not really assembling a Necro pile in order to win at instant speed or with a Final Fortune. Obviously we can't do that because we're not in red, but Necro is a value card. It's a really, really high value card in Glarb, but we can use tools like Exploration to break parity on like what the card can offer us. And we'll just look one more turn and see what we can do. We have pretty much a definitive win. We can open up with a Veil of Summer, which is very cool. I don't think that's really that great of an idea, but we could do that if the window's clear. We know Vault's on top, so let's Necro that. Abrupt Decay. Pact. One Ring is on top. We can Surveil with Glarb. Interesting. One Ring and Deadly Relic. I think we'll pitch One Ring. We'll cast Deadly Relic. Flooded Strand as the first land. Scalding Tarn as the second land. And you can see how the mana gets out of control very, very quickly. This is really hard for our opponents to deal with, being on early turns with this many lands. And we do have some rocks, but the rocks are really not what's important here. Glarb lets us play lands off the top, and I think that ability is very, very powerful and often underestimated. Let's say we played the Oppo. Maybe we got a card, maybe we didn't, but let's say we had enough mana to play the Oppo, so let's just say we played it. This turn we can Scheming, find our win con, protected with Veil. If someone missteps our Veil, we have Misstep as backup. If someone tries to even further counter it, we have a Swansong. And then, last but not least, if that all fails, we can Beseech and grab a Yawgmoth's Will and try to do it over again. And that seems pretty good because we have a lot of cards in our graveyard that we can just Veil again. We can Deadly Relic. We can at least set up and we've got a Dark Ritual and a Vamp Tutor as well. I think we're definitely winning, at least from that position, whether, you know, there's a million things that the games can present and, you know, different obstacles and stuff like that. But when you're goldfishing these things, try to get practice in with things like Necropotence and Glarb and see if your deck is constructed in a way where you can take advantage of these cards and you actually just get familiar with like learning how to play them, because they're not easy to play with, especially if you're not experienced with them. Hopefully some of this video has showed you the power of what Glarb can do. I think that's just kind of what this fundamentals video is about. I think cards like Necropotence and Exploration are really strong. Another card that I really like is Sylvan Library. I think practicing with Glarb and Sylvan Library is really cool. If you can like turn 1 or turn 2 Sylvan Library and then Glarb on turn 2 or turn 3, the interaction and being able to surveil and see that many cards at one time and filter off the top of your library is really, really strong. Other cards that are excellent but are really hard to practice with include Counterbalance. And obviously if people are casting spells in counterbalancing and you have a Necro, or even if you don't and you're just checking the top of your library and using your words and selectively counterbalancing things, because you already know what's on top mana value wise. You can, if like a 2 is, say Sylvan Library is on top and somebody's casting like a Bloom Tender, you might not want to counterbalance the Bloom Tender, because if the player behind them has Breach, and or Grand Abolisher or something like that, you definitely want to save that information for their turn, because if you reveal that you know that there's a 2 on top, then they will either try to cycle the top card of your library, try to play around it, whereas you can just surprise them and say like, oh, actually, I'm going to counterbalance your Grand Abolisher, or let the Grand Abolisher resolve, and then they try to play Breach, and you go, actually, there's a 2 on top of my library. That works through that, which is pretty cool. Another card that's really, really hard to practice with is Limdol's Vault, especially in this deck. It's almost like a Doomsday, but it's kind of different than that. You're really trying to just find a pile of cards that are good and useful to you. It's very, very powerful, especially if you're running cards like Counterbalance, Necro, things like that. This is essentially a tutor with Glarb. It's really, really good. And last thing I want to say is stuff like Noxious Revival. This card is incredible. It's pretty much uncuttable from Glarb, I think, because it interacts well with Counterbalance, interacts well with just Glarb in general. If you're allowed to play lands from the top of your library, if you have a fetch in your yard and you Noxious the fetch back on top, if you don't have a land, and then it gives you a land, that's really, really strong. The card is just so flexible and so good. You can surprise your opponents by casting a Force of Will. Force of Will resolves. Later on, somebody casts something and they're like, well, you don't have Force of Will. And you go, okay, Noxious Revival, target Force of Will, put it back on top of my library, cast Force of Will again. There's so many different options for this card. It's really fantastic. Hopefully these things have given you some sort of vision on why Glarb is powerful and why I like the deck. Unfortunately, right now, I think the deck is a little bit underpowered given the meta, but as we start to shift into slowing down a little bit, Turbo is quieting down a little as well. I'm playing decks like Tivit, and that's feeling pretty good. I think there's versions of Glarb that will probably come up through the ranks, and I think Control is a really good element of it. These cards are powerhouses, but this stuff is really hard to interact with if set up correctly. And if you're playing in a confident and well-practiced manner with the deck, I think it's pretty easy to take wins off of people with Glarb, because he has a lot of hidden power and he's not very easy to interact with. If you like this video, please leave a like and a comment and subscribe. I really like making these videos, and the cEDH fundamental stuff is really fun and interesting to me. And this is the type of thing you can practice at home for the most part, unless you're trying to practice with Counterbalance. It's kind of hard to do. But these things, if you practice them, they will make you a better player at the game. And yeah, so if you have any comments, leave them down below. Otherwise, I will see you next time.